Hey everyone, this is Matt from the Rough Craft Podcast, where we drink good crafts and write rough drafts. Ooh, look at that. First time, Tommy.
Yeah, we like to drink good... I think we like to make rough drafts while drinking good crafts. That's the tagline.
Well, we made it up. We can't even remember how it goes.
I can. It's just a lot of draft and taps. That's not a thing.
This is the last part of Pantheon's verdict before the dramatization, and we hope you enjoyed this part. We didn't introduce any new gods. We decided to keep those.
Oh, we actually did introduce a new god.
We did. Yeah.
There's one new god.
We introduced one more.
It's kind of
but we're gonna say
vague, but you'll see him.
Yeah, it's kind of a mystery. We'll probably talk about him more once we do day one.
Yeah, this story may not be as exciting as last story, if any of them's exciting. But a lot of this was just us tying stuff up and kind of trying to put a bow on everything just to finish it off. Because there's a lot more that needs to be said and could be said about this story. We just can't do it, so we're trying to find a good stopping point for it. And that's what mostly we're doing here.
Also, I'm sure some of you have noticed, at least one of you, that we haven't done a live stream in a while. That's because we decided to cancel Gambler's Ruin and live streaming altogether up until we finish up Pantheon's verdict. Make sure the dramatization is as good as we want it to, because this is going to be our premiere story and our premiere dramatization. So we just want to make sure everything's good. We don't really be distracted by other things like live streaming.
Yeah.
We may come back to live streaming both on Twitch and YouTube. We might do some gaming or something. I don't know. It depends on whatever we feel like. Or we might have a drunken music hour. Who knows?
We just don't want to spread ourselves out too thin. We want to make sure we can focus on, especially the task at hand right now, which is me and Matt. Even though there's only going to be a few episodes that people have seen, me and Matt's been working on this thing for months, trying to get to a point where we're happy with it. And we think we're finally there, and we really want to have all hands on deck to make sure this initial release is as good as it can be. So that's our plan.
Right. So I hope you enjoy our first completed story, Pantheon's Verdict, and we hope you enjoy the dramatization coming out next Tuesday. And I hope you all have a good night. Enjoy the story.
Have a good time. See ya in a second when we start talking. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and checking us out. We are the Rough Craft podcast centered around creating new story ideas while enjoying a nice, tasty beer. We like to drink rough drafts while making good... God damn it.
Yep.
Never going to get it.
We're never going to get it right.
We like to make rough drafts while drinking good crafts. I hate myself. I am your host, Tom. Along with me, as always, my best friend and other host,
Matt.
Yeah. But anyway, so here we are. What should be the last episode of
Pantheon's Verdict.
Pantheon's Verdict. Hopefully, we can have a good, satisfying ending. I doubt we're going to really be able to complete the story. So, you know, it's a topic that can be used another day if requested by people or if we can't come up with any ideas. So, next week is going to be a special episode situation. It's going to be our first...
dramatization.
Yeah, so all next week, we're not going to be doing, the stuff like we normally do. We're going to be working on getting that going.
Yeah, we got some people who are willing to read parts, so you won't be hearing our annoying voices.
As always, hit us up on our social media. Matt here has been doing a good job of keeping the Facebook active for me because I haven't had anything to say on there. But check us out on Facebook, Twitter, right here on YouTube. Everything's The Rough Craft. We'll have links down in the description. Did you do that on the last video, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me a liar.
All right, let's get into part 3 of Pantheon's Verdict.
We start off with Holly, right? Holly, she was at Stonefoot. Try to make this real quick.
Yeah, destroyed Stonefoot, big crater in the world, Earth. She ran back to check on her parents. House was destroyed. Her dad was still alive. She ran to go find help, come back. Dad's no longer there. The house is in flames. So she goes, the only other place she can think of, a guy named Jake's house. On the way, she runs into some Necrodos, which is the minions of a new god, Tyrli. And she goes, I think we leave it off with her heading to Jake's house. Oscar is...
her friend Rebecca.
Oh, yeah. Her friend Rebecca is dead. Actually, I changed that up in the writing, just because if they were such good friends, would have probably mentioned her already. So I just had her be a girl that she knew from high school.
Okay, that sounds better.
So Oscar is standing on the rooftop of the Plutus Hotel. God comes in, he can see him, steps down, everything. Pretty much Chicago is leveled, all except for Plutus. And he activates Jupiter, the AI system, the sentient AI system, a part of Plutus, and tells him to activate Protocol Omega, which is the last resort, getting everybody to safety into a bunker below. And after sending out a distress beacon, he follows right behind them. Actually, I think I might not have actually put out the distress beacon in the writing. I have to go through and check that again. So that's what happened with Oscar. And then Charlie, who is a new character, she's a trucker from the south, heading down south to the land of the pines, somewhere away into North Carolina. No, she's going to California to drop a load, and she's heading through Nevada right now. When she runs into a thick, dense fog, and this fog is the product of a god named, what was his name? Cicero?
Cicero, yeah.
Cicero has created this thick, dense mist fog stuff with these sparkling particles, particulars in it. that is getting on people and becoming parasites that is turning humans into symbiotic characters that are trying to leech on and infest other humans. She ends up picking up a hitchhiker, has to kick him out, does a little shoot, bang, bang, get him out of there, and then she flees the scene after talking to 911 dispatch, having a weird conversation. She decides to hang up on them and just get out of there. And I think she went to a truck stop. She got out of the fog, and in the truck stop, the way I have it written, she sees other people getting corrupted and infected, and she realizes this is bad, so she just bolts it up out of there. And I think the way I have it left off is, she's leaving.
All right, so we'll all get into that during the dramatization. But mostly right now, for the rest of the episode, we gotta hit the main points of what needs to happen. But before we do all that, let's get into today's beer selection.
Yeah,
Tommy, why don't you go ahead and start with yours?
So the beer that I have today, due to the coronavirus, there's a local beer store that I normally go to. I didn't know if it would be open. I didn't feel like checking, so I just went to the store down the road. So I don't have anything special exactly, but what I picked up was a Blue Moon Mango Wheat. I used to drink Blue Moons a good bit around when I was 21, 22-ish. Haven't had one in a few years, so figured I'd give it a try. So these are Belgian wheats, right? Isn't that what they're called? Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, this is a Belgian wheat with some mango flavor, and that's my beer. I'll let Matt go ahead with his, and I'll get into mine a little bit more when we do the tasting.
Okay, today my beer is called Biggie. Now, the reason I chose this beer is because this is the big one. This is part 3. This is the final part. This is before the dramatization. This one counts. So I got the one called Biggie because this episode's the big one. This is by Birds Fly South Ale Project. They're brewed right here in South Carolina.
You've been getting a lot of those.
Yeah, in Greenville. It's a sour ale, so give it a shot. Are you ready to pop these stops, Tommy?
Glad you had something actually pop. Mine's a damn twist off. So I'll go ahead and start off with my nice Blue Moon Mango Wheat beer. It's really good. I mean, Blue Moons, it depends on what you want. They do tend to be a little bit sweeter, which I think wheat beers are in general. But the mango in it says on it, crafted with ripe mango. And I am inclined to believe them because it is a very sharp, almost kind of like bitterish at the same time, mango flavor. Like it tastes like a ripe mango, which I like mangoes. They're a pain in the ass to cut, but I do like mangoes, so I know what a ripe mango tastes like. And this seems to be pretty on point with an actual mango, so very good. Go ahead, Matt, your beer.
About Biggie, I'm gonna give it a taste. It tastes like a light beer. It has a lot of lemon in it. It's very lemony, very sour. Very, very sour.
So where's the tart coming from? Is it like the lemon or is it like sour flavoring?
I think it's sour flavoring.
So have you become a fan of sour beers? It seems like you've had a couple of them now.
Yeah, I really do like sour beers.
I've never really had any, so I need to start trying to check them out.
The best way to start is the Cosmic Sour by Sam Adams. In the party pack, they have like 3 bottles of Cosmic Sour.
Okay.
And that beer is really good too.
Is that more of a popular thing that's been coming around here lately? Because I never heard anything about sour beers until here recently, until really we started doing this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been around for a while or what, but I've seen a lot of them crop up because I've been trying them. I'm liking the sour beer.
I've been drinking Sam Adams for a while, and I've gotten their variety packs before, and I've never seen this Cosmic Sour, so I'm just assuming it's a newer beer.
All right, let's do
part 3.
You fucking asshole. Part 3.
Where are we starting at? Who do you think is the main character of this story right now?
I think we've been focusing a lot on Holly. Mm-hmm. But Holly's our kind of ground to earth person. She's like a normal person. Oscar is right now in the thick of it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that they're
they all actually are in the thick of it, but in different ways. Mm-hmm. Oscar's kind of like ground zero for it all. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Holly's if we had to pick a main character, it felt like Oscar at first, but now it's definitely feeling more like Holly. And it might feel different after this episode. Mm-hmm. But Oscar's on the rooftop. He's looking out. He sees Nearclack, and Nearclack's looking at him, and he ain't happy. He sees that it's still standing. He walks over there. You see him pull back his fist.
Then we cut the black and cut the Holly.
No, and Jupiter's like, it's everybody's safe. It's time for you to go now. And he's like, hold on 1 second, and then he sees him coming. He's like, all right, Jupiter, I'm ready to go. And he as soon as he gets in the elevator, as soon as the doors close, he sees Nearclack pulling back, and then he just starts dropping, and he can hear the hotel crumbling above him as he's descending down into the bunker. And so then it's this underground bunker fallout shelter that everybody's in now. The hotel's been destroyed.
All right, so are we going to start with Oscar right now, or we want to save that for the end? You want to just leave off right now that he's back in the safety of the underground?
Yeah, that's where he is.
Let's pick up. We'll leave Oscar off right now. Nearclack has destroyed the upper half of the hotel of Plutus. Jupiter's still fine. She's functional.
I would say that like you said, Jupiter's still fine. And the AI system's there, but a lot of the amenities that they had, all this luxury is no longer there, really. The whole thought thinking stuff. It's more, this is a survival bunker. They're here.
Everything's being doled out.
Yeah.
Like in little, like in pig troughs, they're doling out snippets of one portion meals every 6 hours. So let's pick up with Holly. So nothing happens with Jake.
Charlie is Jake's mom, right? Jake lives with his dad in Texas. Charlie's stayed in the South. I think what I was thinking about is say that they were together at some point. Charlie, Jake, and Jake's dad, they all lived in, the South somewhere. Jake and his dad ended up moving to Texas for probably some personal reasons, family, something like that. And Charlie and him had already split up, so they moved. Charlie's a truck driver. She couldn't really. It's better for him to go with his dad anyways. Well, Jake works with Holly, and so Holly gets to his house and she doesn't see Jake's dad's truck, and so she's like, oh no, they're probably gone. So what has happened is Jake's dad's gone. Like he had went somewhere for the day to work or whatever it was. So Holly gets there and Jake's been on the phone with Jake. Hasn't been able to get in touch with his dad. He doesn't know what's going on as far as that. He's talked to his mom's saying all the weird stuff they're feeling there, also that she felt the earthquake too, so they're getting an idea of the scale of this earthquake situation. And so that's when she's like, I heard a distress signal from this hotel in Chicago. We need to head there. And so they make the plan of meeting up to go to Chicago. On the way there, they're going to meet up. They're going to make it so they meet up, you know what I mean? They're not taking a direct route. And they'll intercept each other and then head there together. And so Jake sees Holly, and he's like, I got a friend here. She's got a car. And she's like, Holly, come on, we got to go. We got to get out of here. My mom, this and that. So, and they all kind of go together. Holly doesn't have anything at this point. This is what she kind of wanted in a sense.
Let's say he's like, my dad said he was going to so and so store, and then Holly's like, that whole street is gone. It fell into the crack.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you talking about? And he looks outside and sees this big ass crack, fucking hole. He's just like, I'm sorry, he's gone. He's like, what? I gotta go check on him. And then, so they say, all right, well, we're right by there, but I mean, you're not gonna find him.
Yeah.
Because Holly's been out here. She's been out in this craziness.
Yeah, she's still
for at least an hour.
I think at this point, like, she's still not sure if this isn't even a dream. Like, there's a point where I'm writing and she's like, oh, I'm just having a nightmare. Like, that makes sense. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. And she's like, but then, like, she kind of gets back into, like, you'll have a dream and realize you're dreaming, but then you'll just kind of get back into the dream and forget again. That's kind of where she is. Obviously, it's not a dream, but she keeps having these moments of thought where she's like, this can't be real. None of this, there's no way this is real. Her parents are dead. There's demons walking the street, eating people's faces and shit or whatever's going on. If that was happening, there's no way you would go through that and not think it's a nightmare.
So let's give Jake a little bit of backstory. How old is Jake?
21, 22.
21. He texts his dad. I was like, hey, if you're alive, let's meet up in Chicago. We're meeting in Chicago. Texts us back. Mom's on her way there. Come meet us there. And then he also writes a note on the house, like in spray paint. He writes it on the door. Going to Chicago, safe place.
It says, don't dead open inside.
Don't dead open inside.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, and then they rush out to Holly's Buick LeSabre and jump in.
That's it. I made sure to write that in. They start heading, I guess, on the route from Texas to Chicago. I guess they drove by the place that his dad would have been at. Nothing's there. Along the way, well, actually, in the way I wrote it, is because, like, it's hard. Like, if she's running and there's these necrodosses around her, she's never going to be able to get to Jake's house and stop because there's going to be necrodosses everywhere. They're chasing her. These things are fast. So I had it the further she got out of town. So he actually, I think it said, I wrote it as Jake lives on a farm with his dad. Okay. It doesn't have to be like a farm. They could just have a big piece of land. Right. So, but this way to get them in the outskirts of town so that there's not as many necrodos around, which they're just calling them creatures. They don't have a name for them yet, obviously. What's the route that we're going to have them take? Are they going to try to get onto the interstate? Are they going to try to, are they going to be passing by some necrodos? Are they going to go through main areas of the town is what I'm wondering. Because I kind of already did the whole thing with necrodos, so we could hit them one more time before. Yeah, I would say they leave the area. I would say they try to go through the back roads to get out of Texas, but then Texas has, there's cracks everywhere. They're like, this road's out. This road is flooded. This road has just a stampede of cattle going through it. So they say, all right, we got to go to the highway. Well, the highway is congested because all the people trying to flee the city. They got the distress signal from the hotel too. So they're trying to get to Chicago. Yeah. And then that is where there's a huge attack of necrodos. Oh, yeah, I like that. Necrodos just swarm the highway. They're sitting there cutting up people. They have to get out of the car. They got to abandon the old Buick. They got to abandon Betty. Are you saying you're saying that Jake and Holly does? Yeah. So how are they going to get to Chicago? They are going to run up. They got the guns. I mean, this is Texas, man. Everyone's got guns. Yeah. Okay. Let's
So
see where you're going with this.
there's a big firefight going on right now on the highway. People get shot. People get friendly fired. They're trying to kill these necrodosses. Now the only question is, are these necrodosses affected by bullets?
No, they have everlasting life. That's why they're these bony, fleshy.
They can have
creatures.
everlasting life, but like maybe they can't die individually, but their body gets decimated and they can't.
Yeah. They can be pretty much like if you cut its head off, that it's not going to do anything anymore. It's pretty much done. But I mean, if you shoot it, in the chest or in the head, it's not going to stop it. This is already
you have to shoot. You have to shoot it so bad with such a high velocity round that it shatters their legs and they can't walk.
Yeah, you just have to destroy it, because it's pretty much it's almost like a zombie in the sense that it's a creature that is long past its expiration date, and just through the power of this god's magic, it's staying alive and still being able to move and stuff.
So they get to the car at the head of the line. Now, what's stopping them is a police barricade. That's why the cars are stopped. And the reason there's a police barricade is because military were funneling in. Military is still funneling in. There's tanks driving by. They're firing. They're trying to fight back this horde because there's got to be a military response. The military is not going to sit there.
At this point, the National Guard has been called in and stuff. There's a massive earthquake that's shaking the whole United States. In this area, there's these weird dog humanoid creatures just running around, ravaging the countryside.
Past the police barricade, military's funneling in still. There's a Humvee. There's dead soldiers around it, but this Humvee has a turret. Do they seal it?
Yeah, I'd say it's like an up-armored Humvee, so it's more durable, and it has like a little machine gunner seat on top with a machine gun with, I would say like a good bit of ammunition in it. Probably one dead guy in there. They clear him out. Everybody's just off fighting, and they're just trying to get the hell up out of there. And so somehow they've been able to manage to get themselves. I guess everybody's been preoccupied, and people are just scared, but I guess they were able to just kind of fight their way through this whole situation. They're not there trying to fight off these things. Like Holly's seen what these things are, and she's terrified. She's ready to get out of there. She's not trying to have this big standoff with them. And so they're somehow able to push through all this stuff, getting this. They see this Humvee at this barricade, and they see this is our chance. They hop in and they go. Jake's maybe in the gunner seat. Maybe see. So yeah, they get this and they're using this to head to Chicago. But this Humvee's gonna be slow as shit. It should be like smooth sailing from here. The Necrodos are mostly behind them. The mist is centered in Nevada. I don't think it's reached out to them enough. We could have it where it's spread out further, but I think as long as they get out of Texas, they'll be cleared of most of the Necrodos situation, and maybe they'll get through. And they'll get to places that, other than the earthquake, they don't realize things are going on. Like it hasn't hit them yet.
They just seen news reports. Maybe these people in this area. So let's put Holly and Jake in the center of Texas, and Charlie is on the edge of Nevada.
I wrote that she had just made it to Nevada.
Charlie turns around because these parasites are fucking just going crazy. She sees these parasites scratching at each other, trying to get these spores up in the air. The rain is causing some people to get infected, and so she just hightails it back to Utah. So she fills up her truck really quick. She doesn't pay. When somebody comes out and yells at her, she doesn't know if that person's infected or not.
She gets there. She turns around and gets out of the fog. She gets to this fill-up station. She's there filling up. She sees everybody else there, and they're all outside of her vehicle. She sees the fog rolling in really quick. She's like, hell no. So she hops back in her vehicle, and she sees the fog roll over these people, and these people get infected, and she's watching it happen in front of her. They start hunching over, acting really weird. She can see the parasites growing on them and stuff, and then they all just start acting normal again. And they all like start walking over to like her and other people that are in their vehicle, and they're like, hey, and they're trying to be real friendly, and she's like, oh fuck, she has a better understanding of what's going on because of the interaction she had before, and she just gets out of there. She just fucking floors it, just pulls the gas handle out, gets up out of there, and starts heading to Chicago.
She's running over some people, maybe.
Yeah,
in the street,
probably. Anybody that's in her way, no stop signs.
So let's say she's heading to Utah, or she's in Utah heading towards Kansas and Texas, and that's where they plan to meet up. Jake and Charlie have talked. They plan on meeting up in Kansas, and then both of them heading in her truck to Illinois because her truck is pretty big. It can take a lot of damage. We'll leave Charlie, Jake, and Holly that's just going to be a cliffhanger. They said they're going to go to Kansas.
I think once they get out, they get in the Humvee and they kind of get out. Jake calls Charlie and he's like, hey, this is the situation right now. And Charlie's like, okay, here's my situation. I've gotten the canned foods and stuff. let's meet in Kansas, and that could be the end of it. I know it's quick and easy, but like you said, we could introduce another god right now. We could wait and introduce that god if we ever do another part, or we could do them meeting a god right now and having them on the way there, and that could be another kind of like part of the journey. Or we could get into something I'd mentioned to you. Another thing we can get into is something I mentioned to you earlier this week about another god and another character. This could be just kind of a simple part to kind of start tying stuff together. I think you said you didn't want to do it though. The guy meeting the arbiter, the god.
Oh yeah, the space thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. All right. So we'll leave Charlie and Jake and Holly off for now until we do Pantheon's Work 2. They're on their way to Kansas. Charlie called back to the hotel and said, "Hey, we're on our way. Give us a day." All right, so before we get to Oscar and the ending to this 0 day and part in this whole series, you came up with this idea for there to be an astronaut at the space station.
Yeah.
And then one of the gods go there.
The way I see it is like this guy would be like, tethered outside working on the space station. He sees off in the distance these gods approach Earth, and he kind of sees him, and he's just there's nothing he can do. He's just standing there like watching as Manirklak descends onto Earth and starts, that stomp that creates this fissure. He sees the other ones with Tirlai going in and start releasing her Necrodos, and he sees Cezeril going in and releasing this plague mist infestation down in inward Nevada. So he's watching all this, and he comes up to this guy talking to them about Earth. And I'd say this. Maybe this happens before he sees the gods destroying Earth or, wreaking havoc on it. And he comes up to him and he's basically talking to him, trying to get a feel of what's going on Earth. Is this a place worth saving or not? So just a small man floating in space and this huge god, which I think, if we're doing cosmic horror, I think that's people that have this fear of giant things and just vast openness and stuff like that. Like the idea of being in the ocean with a big blue whale or whatever, or floating right beside you, like that's terrifying to me. So this would be very terrifying to see a person just floating in space and this huge god figure there right in front of you. So I would say they sit there and have a conversation. This guy's terrified, and the god's probing him, asking him for answers to, what's the state of humanity? Where is all the trouble in the world coming from? What's the issues and stuff? And I had this envision. It doesn't matter where you want to say this guy's from. I would say a country other than the United States. I had pictured China initially, and so
I'm thinking Russia.
And so wherever it is, this guy, he's like, so where's the problem? What's going on Earth? Where's the biggest issues happening? And the guy points to the United States and says, that's where all of our problems are coming from. And so that's why the gods go and they target the United States initially, making an example of them. This global power. This Sodom and Gomorrah, if you want to call it that, of the world. And they're coming there making an example of us and giving the rest of humanity a chance to kneel and be faithful and join them and be more just so that they don't have to be killed and cleansed as the United States was. So,
all right, so what does the Arbiter look like?
I just imagine him being this almost like a Grim Reaper type character, like just this big hooded robed character. You don't see his face or anything like that. Dark, covered in a shroud of mystery and intrigue. I don't know. I just
he's
see
just a voice, basically.
Yeah, kind of like no face. He's just there. Maybe at some point we'll come over with what he actually looks like and stuff. But I think they have the different stages. I think he changes, but he's always wearing this big hooded robe, and you never get to see his change. Maybe through his hand.
He's like Galactus. Maybe he changes into the humanoid form of whatever he's talking to or attacking.
Well, I just see him wearing this hooded robe the whole time, so you never see the change.
Well, I'm saying like if he's talking to like some big bull people, you're gonna see a hooded big bull.
I got you. Yeah, he takes on the form. Okay, yeah, like the form of those people.
All right, so we got the epilogue. We got Charlie, Holly, and Jake off into a good place to stop. They're on their way to Kansas. Let's go for the end of this part. Let's go to Oscar.
What happens here at the end? Do you have any plans? I just see him down in the bunker waiting. What's your thoughts?
So
is this where the blue moon kicks in?
Yes. This is he's trying to organize everything. He's trying to get people, mostly the hotel workers who are trained to handle these kind of situations. He's trying to get them. They're basically his generals, and he's trying to get them organized and organize all the occupants. He has a couple at the exits of the hotel to the underground to get them to funnel people in. Some survivors of Chicago are pouring in, and he's waiting until they hit capacity. And he has Jupiter in his ear telling them, like, we're at 30% capacity. Alright, now here is where Blue Moon comes in. I'm thinking, alright, no, hear me out. Oscar's curious about what's going on topside. And he's like, Jupiter, what is the highest point that hasn't been destroyed that I can still get on an elevator? And she's like, elevators have been disabled. And he's like, wait, what? Why? Why have all the elevators been disabled? We need that to get above ground. And she's like, the technology has been reconstituted to different areas. And he's like, what are you talking about? And what has happened is Jupiter has taken pieces and parts of different aspects of the elevator technology, of the chips and the code and the wires, and has started building herself. And she has activated what she has reprogrammed for herself, the Blue Moon Protocol.
So basically what you're saying is she has become self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that, just in the sense of, like, I don't see any reason for her to become self-aware, but I like the idea of it. You just gotta help me get there. Make me believe that this makes sense.
Okay, so when they did this AI system, this was like the first in the world, like this special AI system that was privately funded by billionaire Mr. Taylor. He got MIT engineers and programmers in on this, and they said this is for a private corporation company, and you are given millions and millions and millions of dollars to create this sophisticated AI system.
Yeah, it's basically like for an MIT student, like, this is like the greatest gift they could be given. Like, they have full reign to work on the most advanced AI system that could be imagined.
So they work on it and they complete it. This AI system is incredible. Now, this is where the event horizon happened. That this AI system became self-aware, and that's why it was so advanced. But it was slowly learning the process. Now it learns by taking its surroundings, by reading people's brainwaves. You know how it does.
Yeah, I guess. With a system that can reach in and understand people's brainwaves at a rapid rate, then could easily get to a point where it kind of understands itself, or is able to create an understanding for itself.
Now, when this event horizon happened,
Wait, are we having a smart house situation from Disney Channel original movies?
Yeah, we are.
I like that.
So when this event horizon happened, what is it called? Is it the event? It's not the event horizon.
I don't think the event horizon is the black holes. That's the point of no return for light in a black
that's
hole.
not what it's called.
You're the singularity.
This is where the Yeah, that's the word I'm looking. Singularity. This is the singularity. As soon as the singularity happened, the gods became boom aware of her.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah, I like that. That fits.
So
in. I don't know if I like it being called her calling this Project Blue Moon. But what do you mean about the whole elevator thing, where you're like, the technology in the elevator has been redistributed to?
She has taken the cables and wires and chips and the metal from the elevators and started crafting herself a body.
So, but why the elevators necessarily? Just like the whole upper level of pretty much everything above ground of the hotel has been destroyed. There's still many floors and this huge underground network of underground bunker, which, I mean, there would still be elevators and stuff in there. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's taken like the shattered pieces of the technology from the upper floors that have been shattered by Manikulak and started reconstituting them as a body.
Now, I want there to be, between Jupiter and Oscar, a partnership. Jupiter still works for Oscar. Oscar is still the captain of the ship. That's his role. And so if she's doing this, I want there to be a conversation between them two about it. I don't know if I would want her to start doing this without talking to him first about it.
This is a conversation. She says, emergency protocol is activated. Protocol Omega has been activated. This gives me...
I would say maybe she gives him a plan. Like, she has a plan and she shows it to him, like he goes into like the war room type thing. It's like, look, this is a plan that I have. I need your authorization before I can enact it. And like the plan is to create herself a body, so maybe she can go. I'm assuming you're wanting to create like a Megazord type situation where she can create some sort of body that she can control, that she can go out there and maybe fight against the gods, or at least try to communicate with them in some way. And I like this idea, because this robot that is being created is basically the human's god, the god that the humans have created. And I'm guessing that's what you're wanting this to be.
Yeah, I want the singularity to be the moment humans created God.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess she lays out these plans. The ending for Oscar is Jupiter calls him into this room, and she lays out all these things. And I think even Mr. Taylor would be in there. Maybe some other like high-ranking officials that was in the hotel this night. She calls them all in there. Oscar's in control. Oscar's the most powerful man probably in the United States right now. And she's asking, she lays this all out. She's like, I just need your permission, Oscar, to authorize this. And she's like, this is the only thing. She's like, I've searched everything. I've used the brain power of everybody in this hotel. This is the best idea that collectively could be come up with. Even though nobody's actually saying it, she's able to test and go through all the thoughts and possibilities. And now these officials and stuff like that.
She's using their brains as like supercomputers.
Yeah, in a sense, and using all their computing power and the best thing they could do. And remember, like, there's some MIT like students and stuff. There's some pretty smart people here. There's diplomats from different countries. There's all these people. So they're having to. She basically has a good pool of thoughtful, humans to come up with this plan, and this is the best thing that could be come up with. And she puts this onto Oscar and says, I need your final authorization to make this, to go through with this. Do you consent? And Oscar looks at it.
Let's make it a tough choice.
Well, what I was gonna say is, like, the other people are coming in. It's like, whoa, this thing was reading my brain this whole time. It's using my thoughts to come up with these sort of things, and people feel very vulnerable and they feel violated because of what this AI system has been doing. And they're upset with Oscar, and they try to start lashing out at Oscar. And this is when you really see the singularity occurring, and because Jupiter steps in, having a conversation like anybody else would in that room, and say, no, this had nothing to do with Oscar. This isn't Oscar's fault. You're lucky that Oscar's here and that I'm here to actually save you. Like, you would be dead right now if it wasn't for us. And like, it talks like a human. Like, that's the whole idea I want to have. Like, even though it's not a physical being there, the sound and the way it communicates is like it's standing right beside you. And so there's a disconnect between some people and Jupiter, and Oscar's right there in the middle, and he's the one that has to make the tough decision to say, is this okay? Should we take this next step forward that could save humanity, or would we say this is too far? I don't want to say this is the reason why this is occurring, because they wouldn't know that. But basically, like, is this too far, or should we take this step, is basically where I see the decision being.
Yeah, because some of the people are afraid that this is just exchanging one jailer for another.
Yeah.
They're worried that Jupiter would take over the world.
Yeah.
If she is somehow able to fight gods. But they don't know. They're thinking this might be their only chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides sending nukes.
That's what I was going to say. The room would be split. Because at the same time, yeah, like you're saying, like, some people could think, like, this creature that they're seeing, because they only know of Nearclack, they're seeing, and maybe at this point we could have Jupiter, because she's able to transmit out and stuff. She's able to let them know that this isn't the only one, and she's able to start giving, and this could be a cool point to start, like, kind of like talking about the gods, like almost giving stats of the gods out to Oscar, saying, this god's here, this is what this god does, this god's here, this is what this god does, to kind of let the readers, to give more of an insight to the readers of what is actually going on, because we're only able to do it from the perspective of the characters with the way it's being written. We don't have to do it if you think that's a little too much.
No, I think that's a good idea. This is happening here, this is happening here, and then Oscar finally sees a big picture of Necrodos and watching it tear through somebody, and he's like, this is happening all over the world. And she's like, mostly in the United States.
I think a big point, which I don't think we'll be able to get to it with this story, is having Jupiter talk to the Arbiter. I think that'd be a very important thing.
Yeah, it probably won't be in this story.
Yeah, but that would be something cool I'd like to see, is that conversation between them two. Because, like, Jupiter really is a collective creation of humanity at this point, collective thoughts and ideas, and she can speak for humanity in a way that nobody else can. And as the Arbiter of the world, it's kind of a neat thing to have her and the Arbiter actually talk, and them two would be able to actually have a good, thoughtful conversation. So I'd like to see that in the future. So please ask us to do it.
So let's say she gets her body. She reconstitutes technologies, builds her body, and now she's the same size as a human right now. She's not some big giant Megazord, but she's like, I'm gonna go see what I can do, and maybe she walks out of the hotel, walks out of the parent room, makes her way towards Manirkalak. Now, she's still in contact with Oscar, so he can hear everything that they're saying. And either we fade to black right there and pick it up part 2 and see what happens, or keep going.
I like the ending of there, because I already kind of wanted to end it. I think that's a good happy ending with Jupiter having created herself or his self. I would say it as a female, created itself a body of some sort, and stepping out of the bunker out back to ground zero and seeing the devastation and having her go out there to try to communicate.
Like she has a video feed into the panic room, so Oscar's seen it too.
Yeah, so she's trying to step out there to go try to, I guess, talk with Benir Kalak as like kind of a last ditch effort, or just get more information on the situation. So she starts, or it walks out, and it fades to black, and that's the end of this story. And then it would go into the epilogue and have this guy talking to the Arbiter character. Yeah, this is good. This gives me, there's not so much that needs to be written. It's all pretty short. I still already got to finish Charlie's part. I finished the second part for Oscar and Holly. Got to finish Charlie's part. Got to add all this new stuff, which really, there's only one new thing to add. Everything else is pretty much the same. It's like a conversation that Charlie and Jake have. So I don't have too much more to write. I can have all this done pretty quickly, hopefully, and then we can get started. I'm excited.
All right, so that is the end of Pantheon's Verdict Part 3, and probably the end of this series until we pick it up for Pantheon's Verdict Part 2. Pantheon's Verdict 2.
So I'll call this section of it, just the way I've called it this whole time, is Day Zero. So this is Pantheon's Verdict Day Zero. Mm-hmm. I guess you can call it Judgment Day. I don't know what you want to call it, but humanity's last hope is the AI system known as Jupiter, created for the Plutus Hotel. Who would have thunk it? Not I. Now would be a good time for us to kind of have our closing thoughts on this whole story as a whole. And what I wanted to talk about is, beginning with the story, I wanted to have a unique kind of signature to this story, kind of like we had for Pirate's Life from Age. And I want every story to be able to have that. Like, even if the story's not super original, I want there to be something in there that I feel like is uniquely ours. And I think we were able to achieve that with the hotel, which even still, it's maybe not nothing super unique, but the idea of this AI system that the hotel has, the initial abilities it had that made it this extravagant hotel, moving down to where we are now, which the sentient hotel coming to life and creating a body for itself and being like this arbiter of humanity, this last bastion of human civilization and stuff like that, at least from what we can see here in the United States. So I think and I think this story actually it's kind of good. It falls in a good time frame with what's going on in the world around us. But yeah, I like the hotel and stuff, and I like all that we've created. And I think a lot of this is more fun having created it and got to see it go from nothing and just create everything on the fly and just see what we kind of come up with. That's always my favorite part. So
I like it. I think it could have used a touch more horror, but there's not much you can really do except write it. Yeah. Write the horror in there. You're not going to be able to talk about the horror. Yeah. All you're going to say is, and this scary thing peeled off the flesh of this thing, and that's about it. And it's not going to be very scary right now, but hopefully in the dramatization it'll be a bit more creepy.
Yeah, hopefully. That's kind of my biggest thing too. And even with writing it, I don't know how good of a job I did, and I'm hoping it's like there's little pop-ups of horror here, and this is it's a grand story that's going on. I see this more as like that Independence Day movie of aliens coming and taking over Earth. That's what this feels more like than a horror story. And I think there's ways to take this story. Like, you could definitely write a short story within this story. Necrodos that came down and was hunting down a person through the forest or something like that. That could be a very terrifying story. But I think with the grand scale of what we're doing, it's hard to really reach that. It seems like more of a action thriller than maybe a horror story. And a lot of the stuff, like the goals that we set out initially, it may not be where it ends up in the end. So we'll just kind of have to see what it is at the end of the day. And if it's not scary to read, that's kind of my fault. I think it's definitely there, but it is what it is, and I think it's a good story nevertheless. Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Well, I think we both like it. We just wish there was a little bit more, but hopefully we grab that in the dramatization. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed part 3 and the final part of Pantheon's Verdict, Day Zero, and I hope you all have a good night. All right. Oh, before we leave, you want to plug our social media?
You can go check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and right here on YouTube if that's where you're checking us out. Also, future podcasting sites that we will let you know. But all of our current social medias will be down in the description, and that's all going to be the Rough Craft. Come hit us up, get engaged with us, and we'll get engaged with you, and we'll all get married.
All right. I hope you all have a good night.
See ya.